trial. We should shatter her just for looking like that.
No, I want to hear her make her case. I want to know what she thinks we're going to do with her. Because I want to do something worse.
Loved ones, let me tell y'all something. Living a life with a disability is not a punishment, it's an experience. In the same way other people have had to live their lives through all sorts of circumstances and experiences, is the same way people with disabilities are living their lives. Our lives just show up in the form of a disability, but it's simply an experience. It's not a punishment from God. It's not a punishment from our parents. It's not a punishment from the universe. It is simply the way we have been chosen to experience our lives. And I think if we understand disability from a perspective of experience and not tragedy and punishment and negativity, then we will be able to understand disability lifestyle and culture in a much more human fashion. And oftentimes, disabled people are excluded because deep down inside, people feel guilty or ashamed or scared or fearful because we are living a life that they don't understand. And we're just screaming from the top of our lungs that there's nothing to be afraid of. You don't have to feel sympathy. You don't have to feel sad for us. We're just experiencing life in a different way than you. In the same way, there's other people experiencing life in different ways than you that have nothing to do with disability. In the same way, a lot of people have experienced things in their life that I've never felt, and they're not disabled. We can just learn to better understand it so we can have solutions, so everyone can have a fair shot at this thing called life. That's all we're asking for. It's just a fair chance to win like everybody else. That's all I'm saying, y'all. Do better, please.
Stop using transphobic language. Instead of saying, how do you know that you're trans? Instead, Venmo me $20. Instead of asking, well, what's in your pants? Cash at me $100. Instead of saying like, oh, well, what is your real name? Give me $2,500 in cold, hard cash. Instead of trying to trigger my dysphoria, buy me something off of Amazon. I have a wish list. Instead of telling me to find God, PayPal me $200. Instead of mindlessly following propaganda, go touch grass. Go touch grass right now.
I don't know if you guys have seen the insanely sexist Washington Post op-ed, but it is driving me crazy. I saw the tweet first. Immediately, I have questions. First off, what is American marriage? Second, why should I want it? Third, are there tangible consequences for Gen Z women if their government is overtaken by, say, far-right men? Finally, why should she want to be with someone who doesn't care about those consequences? The actual article was written by the Washington Post editorial board, which makes everything I'm about to say that much worse. Like how the board tried to illustrate an ideological gap between Gen Z men and women, except they only talked about white Gen Zers. Considering that barely half of Gen Z is white and more legislation is targeting Black and brown Americans, it kind of feels like a big oversight. Unless, of course, you only care about white marriage, which would be weird. The main thesis of the piece, though, is that Americans can no longer debate the real issues, and to make marriage work, someone has to compromise. I don't want to debate my dignity and private medical decisions with Trevor from Hinge. That's just not appealing to me. Honestly, why would any woman want to marry someone who actively contributes to her own oppression? No thank you. To be fair, it doesn't explicitly say that liberal women should be the ones to compromise, but let's be real. If you hate abortion and love Tucker Carlson and think electric vehicles will shrink your balls or whatever, it's not like you're gonna listen to your naggy girlfriend. And even besides that, women are always the ones expected to compromise. And Gen Z is sick of it. Why do I have to compromise for your garbage views? Why should anyone feel obligated to somebody who thinks personhood is conditional? I'm sorry you can't feel empathy, but that is not my problem. And if you think that marriage is dependent on you sacrificing your most basic principles, why do you care about it so much in the first place?
They're not going to just stop with transgender people. I want everybody to know what's going on in Russia right now. We are now getting reports that Russia is raiding LGBTQ bars and clubs in Moscow and arresting people. This comes after a court decision in Russia that declares LGBTQ rights to be an extremist movement. And due to it being declared an extremist movement in Russia, it is now outlawed. It would be easy to think that this is just a Russian problem. And let's be clear, the people in Russia need our support. But it's not. Anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ politics is a global movement, and eradication is the goal. In the United States, we have a history of raids on LGBTQ bars and clubs. And already we have in Florida, for instance, the targeting of a place just for hosting a drag brunch. We have pride parades being shut down in Treasure Coast. In Tennessee, Borough Pride ended up getting targeted. They also tried to do the same thing in other places. And while Russia started with a don't say gay law, 10 years ago, and then recently focused on transgender people, going as far as to take away kids, the same thing has been happening in the United States with a don't say gay bill in Florida and the targeting of trans parents and kids throughout the country. LGBTQ rights is not an extremist movement. The eradication of LGBTQ people is.
I'm not paying for my student loans because y'all got $100 billion to fund genocide.
All right, here we go. I'm going to give you guys the keys to success. Sitting out in the streets protesting with a bullhorn absolutely does nothing. It's a waste of your time. They are still able to say, oh, look at that. The peasants are protesting and still vote against your interests. Every politician that you vote in, what ends up happening? They get silenced by the status quo or they end up playing the ball game. And I know you should know better than to think making TikToks and YouTube video exposés, that's not actually going to do anything. Do you want to know what you can do, what we should do, the actual protest that we should be making right now? Oh look, Sallie Mae is a publicly traded company and it closed at $15 a share. That's extremely affordable for the average American. That's like what, a case of soda and a bag of chips? Oh look, Sallie Mae pays out a dividend in December. Looks like 2 of them at 2.93%. Yeah, it's okay, that's healthy. So you mean to tell me that if I buy some stock in Sallie Mae on the 29th, 30th of this month, I'm bad with calendars, but if I buy some stock of Sallie Mae at the end of this month, come the 1st and the 15th, they're going to pay me a little chunk of change, a couple of bucks here or there per share. It sure would be a shame if, say, 30 million American debtors to Sallie Mae all purchased stock in that company instead of paying their student loans in December, and then all just so conveniently on the 16th of December sold their stock collectively, all at once, ideally sometime between the hours of 10 and 11:30 in the morning Eastern time. Because, such a rapid change in a company's stock value, well, the company wouldn't really be able to compensate. They would lose who knows how many millions, billions overnight. And we all know that, the financial institution is probably going to shut down the transactions like they did with Reddit and GameStop. We know that they're probably going to do some little injection of cash to bail them out, maybe even get it from the federal government because Sallie Mae is Uncle Sam's baby. That's all good. That's all well and good. But guess what? You might be able to do stock buybacks. You might be able to send me my money back, but you won't be able to stop me from launching another transaction once the button is highlighted again. And of course, say if there were 30 million jaded Americans who just kept buying and selling Sallie Mae over and over and over again, well, at a certain point, there's only but so much you can bail a company out before it's just too far into the red. So you tell me what's a more effective version of protest? Hooping and hollering in the streets, getting ignored, making expose documentaries, or hitting them where it hurts most, in their liquidity.
For my birthday, I asked my friends to bring me rocks so we can have a little rock competition. I judged them, I picked my favorites, and this year the rocks were exceptional. To recap, last year my friend Shannon won with this heart-shaped rock, and it was a huge upset on TikTok because my second place winner, Dylan, brought in this fossilized poop coprolite, and everyone thought Dylan should have won. But I stand by this. Shannon is my winner, but that means Shannon is a 2-time winner, winning in 2021 and 2022. So the stakes are now super high this year with a 2-time winner now in the game. Also joint third last year was my friend Lauren and my partner Avery, and this was Joyce's rock down here, and she was disqualified. Also judging this year was name blind, so there was no chance of bias. Everyone was writing each other's descriptions randomly, and I didn't know who was writing what. So without further ado, here are the rocks. Let me know who you would have picked to be the winner. The rock Jasper brought in was this little dinosaur pendant. It looks like it could be jade, and it says, "This rock will strike fear into the hearts of your enemy." Love that. Very cute, very thoughtful. Thank you, Jasper. This was Lauren's rock this year. I think the white streams look very cool, and in the description it says, "Its white rivulets represent our paths crossing in this dark world." Love that. This is Khadijah's rock. Not sure how much of the description I want to say out loud on my TikTok, but you can read it. Good rock. Sasha's rock was jade from Guatemala, fished out of a river and polished into a ring. Very edgy, very cool. Thank you, Sasha. This is Kaja's rock. You can't really tell from the picture, but it is very bumpy and very twisty. Also, I love that in the description it says, "I dug it up myself." Love the enthusiasm. That really gets me. Ash has not changed at all and still loves to piss me off, so this is the rock that they brought in. So smooth, natural, round beauty. What a rock. Wow. This was Nicelle's rock. I do love that it looks like a little shark head from this side, but the description says that if you flip it over, it looks like a bunny ready to fight. And I flipped it over and I couldn't see the bunny, so heart-wrenching. Audie brought in this amazing egg-shaped rock, and it should serve as an example to Ash that you can bring in egg rocks without them actually being eggs. The description was great too. Has a lovely smooth texture while having a light divot on its underside to rub your thumb against. Amazing. Ton brought in this ammonite, and I love ammonites. They're super cool, and this is a very beautiful one. This was also blessed by a witch doctor in New Orleans. So extremely cool. Camila's rock was so close to placing for me. It's got a little smiley face. What's better than when nature smiles? It also has some little chin stubble. It's amazing. Look at this rock. Now in joint third, first up is Devani's rock. This rock has a very nice hand feel. I did hold it. It did have a very nice hand feel, and it has a screaming ditto on top of it. Look at that. It's amazing. Now here's the upset. My 2-time winner and dear friend Shannon was joint third this year with this nipple rock. Look, hello? It looks like a nipple. I didn't need anything else. I was like, this has to be top 3, and it gets third. It's an amazing rock. Now in joint second, Lennox's rock. I found it at Seward Park after having a good cry. Amazing. And the best part is, there's a little picture of a frog on it. Look, I didn't see the frog at first, but when I saw it, I was like, this has to be at least second place. It has a little picture of a frog. It's so clear. Frog rock. Now this was Joyce's redemption year, because after being disqualified last year, she came in joint second this year with this amazing toasted marshmallow rock. I mean, look at that. It really looks like a toasted marshmallow. And not only does it look like a toasted marshmallow, it looks like a perfectly toasted marshmallow. It's amazing. I am obsessed with this rock. But my winner this year in first place, and again, this was name blind, so I genuinely had no idea whose rock this was my partner Avery's rock. And she deserves it. This is an amazing rock. It looks like the moon, so circular, so round, it fits so well in your palm. Try it. So enticing. I did try it. It's perfectly round, perfectly smooth. It's amazing. It looks like the moon. I saw it and I was like, that is my rock. It's incredible. It's beautiful. It's so satisfying. It kind of looks like a cookies and cream wafer. I want to eat it so bad. So congratulations to Avery, the well-deserving winner of my 2023 rock competition. Probably a good sign, right? That she knows me pretty well. Also, congratulations, Avery, for dethroning 2-time winner Shannon. And see you next year, everybody.
The biggest shame of any of the things I talk about is the way that men have been able to convince me at different times in my life that I'm a mean or an abusive person. And on the flip side of that are men who find my approach to communication to be like domineering, which they sexualize. So in either case, I'm dehumanized. I'm either a bitch or a sex object. And I've gotten comments on videos I've made historically about friendship with men from women who say they just can't find a reason to be friends with men. I want to be a person who believes in a capacity for connectivity in interpersonal relationships. I never want to be a person who blanket statement rules out friendship with somebody because of their gender. But I will blanket statement rule out a capacity for seeing the good in somebody or sharing friendship with someone where the playing field is inherently unequal, where I either have to be a bitch or a sex object, but I'm not a human. I remember the first time I came online to my empathy being used as a manipulation tactic with men. When I was 18 years old, my mom said, you know, what you did or said, I don't remember what I did or said, really hurt your dad's feelings. This was revolutionary at the time for me, but my response was, Mom, I'm not responsible for dad's feelings. I was 18 and that was a really painful thing for me to say. And I've since done a lot more, unpacking of my socialization and my conditioning to understand the ways in which I was socialized to be responsible for my dad's emotional experience. That dynamic is something that I've learned is not exclusive to my father-daughter relationship. It's come up in every romantic relationship I've had. Today I had a disagreement with a friend who's a man. He was telling me a story about another woman, and I told him what he said was misogynistic. We were having a casual phone conversation, and I heard the anger in his voice rise when I said that. And when I heard it continue to rise, I said, you know what, let's take a few minutes to think about why we disagree on this subject. I'll try to come up with the reason I feel like it's misogynistic to share with you. And maybe we can revisit the conversation and try to meet each other in the middle. And a few minutes later, I got a string of texts from him in which he said, I'm not sure about our friendship. And he used all the same sort of like feedback that men use in my intimate partnerships with them, including that I'm grouping him with other men who I've had bad experiences with, and that my communication is unkind. 10 years ago, even 2 years ago, I would have felt guilt. His texts would have had the intended effect. I would have felt like I was the person in the wrong. One of the things he asked is, don't I feel bad about the things that I say or the way that I say them to him sometimes? My response was, no, I don't feel bad about it, because I am sure about the perspective that I'm sharing. What I said was, if I felt like I had entered a state of anger and acted out of character, then I would feel badly. The reason that you want me to feel badly is because you don't like the subject matter of what I said to you. Receiving it as criticism or an evaluation of your performance, which made you angry. And now you're acting out of anger toward me with deflection and tone policing me. I told him I am sorry that your feelings are hurt. I am not sorry about what I said, and I will not do the emotional labor for you of helping you ascertain why what you said is misogynistic, nor will I sweeten the delivery of that feedback. Like I said, historically, that conversation would have had the intended effect. I would have assigned myself a lot of shame, labeled myself as a bitch or a difficult person who needs to change something about myself because it's displeasing to a man. When what I am saying is actually just drawing attention to a sentiment and to an energy that is abusive toward another woman. The person I'm saying it to has not developed a capacity to receive it without deflection. I am neither a mean nor am I an abusive person. In fact, I have a heart that bleeds for people who suffer unnecessarily. And I no longer allow that bleeding heart to be weaponized or exploited for the validation of men who would rather yell at and criticize women than receive what they're being told in a spirit of relationship building and connectivity and empathy. This video is not pointed specifically toward that person. He said, what if I would be so mean to you? I don't think you would receive it as well. And what I said to him is that you can't really hurt my feelings. I've been stuck in enclosed spaces with men losing their shit. I've been afraid for my life. The anger of other people isn't hurtful to me. You feel like you're holding back in your communication with me, and then you decide not to hold back anymore. All I can do is decide that we have an irreconcilable worldview difference. I can set boundaries accordingly. The reason I'm making this video is because I noticed the theme of my empathy being weaponized in my relationships of all sorts with men. And today, for the first time, I think I had space from the situation to not receive it in the way that it was intended, was to guilt me into saying the thing that that man wanted to hear from me. I am so fucking tired of serving this role in the lives of men.